The unification of Germany in the late 19th century presented a unique problem for Britain. You see, the United Kingdom wanted little to do with mainland Europe and its constant infighting. It was only interested in maintaining and growing its empire. By the end of the 19th century, the German Empire was mainland Europe's most powerful nation. Its emperor, Wilhelm II, wanted to increase Germany's power and build its own global empire because prestige and also money. To this end, there was one small problem: Britain. So the head of Germany's navy was a man called Admiral Alfred von Tirpitz, who came up with a great idea. Let's begin a major naval build-up. But first, I should just let you know that the purpose of the naval build-up was not to displace the Royal Navy as the world's foremost sea power. Britain had to use its navy to defend its global empire, whereas Germany could concentrate its entire fleet in the North Sea. This strategy, by the way, is known as the fleet in being doctrine, whereby the mere threat of naval action would be enough to force concessions. With the strategy in place, Germany got to building and rapidly began to expand its navy. And Britain, for the first few years, wasn't too concerned because its strategy didn't need to change. This strategy was known as the two-power standard, whereby Britain would maintain the same number of capital ships as the next two largest navies combined. Britain didn't really become concerned until 1900, when Germany announced another naval build-up. The British government then appointed a man called Jackie Fisher as the head of the Royal Navy to face this challenge. And one of the first things he did was champion a new type of ship, one heavily armed and armoured whose job it was to sink enemy battleships. This new ship was finished in 1906 and dubbed the HMS Dreadnought. So, the fact that Britain had just made every previously built German battleship redundant wasn't good news for Tirpitz, nor for Imperial Germany, which was spending far too much money on all of this. In the end, the Germans decided to slow down their naval program, and just kidding, they started building dreadnoughts. By 1908, the German Navy had ordered 8 dreadnoughts, whereas the Royal Navy possessed 1 and had ordered 6 more. And naturally, this was worrying for Britain. Its concerns were made worse when considering that Germany's allies, Austria, Hungary and Italy, had ordered another 5 dreadnoughts between them. Thus, Britain was left with 3 options. 1. Spend all of the money and construct more warships. 2. Come to an agreement with Germany to slow down production. Or 3. Do something no British government ever wanted to do: ally with France and use her dreadnoughts to balance it out. In the end, Britain chose all 3. It ordered another 11 dreadnoughts, which in turn would be bolstered by France's. And as for coming to an agreement, Britain had tried for several years to get the Germans to slow down, but to no avail. It wasn't until 1912, when the cost of the naval arms race was becoming problematic, that any agreements were discussed. The issue was that Germany refused to discuss naval disarmament until Britain had formally entered an alliance with it. In the end, it was the First Lord of the Admiralty, Winston Churchill, who created a programme which meant that for every new dreadnought the Germans ordered, Britain would order 2. Thus, German leaders could see that continuing to order new dreadnoughts would be met with a British response that would in fact increase the gap between both countries. And by 1914, the naval arms race was at an end, with Britain in possession of nearly twice as many dreadnoughts as Germany. Alongside the dreadnoughts, many hundreds of other ships had also been built, and Germany opted then to turn its attention to U-boats. The naval arms race had severely damaged Anglo-German relations and had pushed Britain into an alliance with France and Russia, which, as we all know, along with numerous other factors, laid the foundations for the First World War. I hope you enjoyed this episode and thank you for watching, with extra thanks to these patrons you can see on screen for their continued support. And an extra special thanks to James Bisonet, David Archaeologist, Azarka Flash, Danny Maloney, Party Boyko, Kulin Castleman, Rob Waterhouse, Chris Wicker, Gustav Swan, David Silverman, Winston Kaywood, Christian Cheke, Maggie Paxkowski, Lexi Schwinn, Anthony Beckett, Robert Wetzel, Sky Chappelle, Ike, Spinning 3 Plates, Aaron the White and Michael Reynolds.